Hey everyone, what is going on? My name is Live, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing a DLC review of the Sydney character pack for Payday 2. I said I was going to start doing some DLC reviews, and I thought where better to start than with my favourite character from Payday 2. So what I'm going to do is take an unbiased approach, because as you know, she is my favourite character. I've already said it, like literally 5 seconds ago. I'm going to try and take an unbiased approach though, for the sake of people who are impartial to her character or are not too sure what comes in the pack. I'm going to talk about what's featured, what's good, what's bad, and then give my thoughts at the end and whether or not I think it's worth purchasing it. So, to start with the description of the product, we'll take it straight from the Xbox store. Sydney originates from Australia, but more importantly, she's been unleashing her own brand of mayhem called Punk. She's been ruling the backstreets of Melbourne, infusing anarchy and havoc wherever she felt it was needed. But now she's grown tired of fighting the same fuzz over and over, so with nothing more than her attitude, she kicks in the US store and sets her aim on the best heisters in the world, the Payday gang. This pack also contains the Anarchist perk deck, together with the bootleg assault rifle and the wing melee knife. So to take details from her actual character, Sydney is one of the youngest additions to the Payday gang. She's also only the third female heister to be featured in the gang after Clover and Bonnie. So it's good to have, a few more female heisters in there for people who want to play as female characters. Personally, I was quite a big fan of Clover before she came out, so I don't know, I kind of like the way they handle female characters in this game. I've not really played as Bonnie too much though, so maybe I should try her out at some point. But Sydney herself as a character, I kind of like her wit, I suppose, in a way, and the way she responds to pages and stuff like that. Maybe it's just the Australian attitude, I'm not quite sure. I've never been to Australia, so I don't know whether she represents the typical kind of Australian person. Probably doesn't, because it's a bit stereotypical anyway, even if it was. So either way, let's talk about what comes with the character pack. So we'll talk first off about the perk deck, the Anarchist. The whole premise of the Anarchist perk deck, if you haven't seen my minigun tank build, basically what happens is instead of regenerating armor when you're out of combat, so you run for cover so that no one's aiming at you, your armor recovers after a certain period of time. Depending on what skills you have, it can be different amounts of time before it recovers. What Anarchist aims to do instead is to constantly regenerate armor throughout combat. But what happens is the more armor you have, the longer it takes to regenerate, but when it does regenerate, it does it in bigger intervals. So for instance, if you're carrying a two-piece suit, you regenerate the armor quite quickly, but you'll only do it in little tiny bits, whereas if you're bringing like an ICTV, it'll take longer for you to regenerate parts of your armor, but when you do, you'll regenerate it in big chunks. So basically that means you can stay in a fight in theory for longer. You don't have to run to cover because your armor is constantly going back up. Although it doesn't make you invincible. That's the thing that is worth noting with this, because I think from looking at it, people might get the assumption that it makes you invincible and immune to bullets. You can keep shooting and you won't die. That isn't the case. When I started using the perk deck, I kind of felt that wandering into a battle and just hoping for the best ended up with you dying pretty quickly. It's more being tactical about it. It means instead of having to run for cover, you can kind of just move out of shot for a second and then come back in. So instead of hiding for like 20 seconds to try and get away from cops, you're having to do that a bit less often, and you can stay in the fight for longer. And that is the accomplishment of the actual perk deck. Another thing to note is that you actually do get a lot more armor with this perk deck. It does boost your armor value quite notably, and what it does at the same time is it reduces your health. So at the end of the day, when you've maxed out the perk deck, you only have half of your health, but you have 120% more armor. So that is quite a big kind of comparison to take. It does actually make quite a bit of a difference to your armor value, and it also means that when you're regenerating your armor in big chunks, when you have a lot of armor, you're getting a lot more than you would have without basic armor skills. And that's why I favor this perk deck over Armorer, because Armorer, while it does give you all the armor boosts that you need, you still have to run to cover, which kind of seems like a bit of a dodgy move for someone who's supposed to be, standing there and being able to take the damage. So Anarchist is really good for that. And personally, it's one of my more favourable perk decks to use in the game. Next up, let's take a look at her primary weapon, the bootleg assault rifle. The whole premise of this is that it's an assault rifle but with an LMG drum mag, so you can fire 100 bullets without having to reload. If you get lock and load ace, you'll be able to carry 115 bullets, but we'll just assume we'll stick to 100 and go from there. In terms of the assault rifle's actual performance, it isn't fabulous. It's fairly weak, to be honest, and there are assault rifles that are better than it. But the ammo pool is fairly reasonable. You get about 2.5 mags in there, which, considering it is 100 bullets per mag, it does make a bit of a difference. You do get to last for quite a while with it. With me though, the problem is with LMG drum mags, I don't know how many other people are like this, but in any shooter, whenever I get a chance to reload, I take it. So I'll probably only fire like 20 bullets and then reload, so the whole LMG drum mag thing doesn't matter too much to me. I suppose I just like the idea and the concept of it, and I have used it quite a bit, but honestly I used it most when the DLC had first come out, because I really wanted to try it and see what I think. As time's gone by, I'm finding that I'm using it less and less, and it hasn't featured in, for instance, a build video since Mayhem Impact, which was literally something that came out almost as soon as the DLC did. So Honestly, is it a great assault rifle? No, this isn't really the highlight of the pack, and if you're going for the bootleg assault rifle primarily, I would urge you to reconsider buying the DLC, because it isn't the best gun. It's good, but if you want to use it on something like Death Wish, you're going to be firing for a little bit before you get quite an impact on cops, so honestly, I just keep that in mind. Finally then, we'll look at her melee weapon, which is called Wing. It's a butterfly knife with a pretty unique little animation when you actually hold the melee button. You get to watch her kind of flipping the knife around. And actually, the thing to note for this is actually my stealth weapon now. And I use this in every stealth house with my stealth build. I like the way it looks. It's slick, it's sleek, it just kind of looks right for a stealthy character. But obviously the thing to consider with that is there are other weapons that do serve that purpose already. For instance, the free melee weapon Nova's Shank, it's a toothbrush that's shaved off at the end like a pencil sharpener or something as a tactic at the end, and you can stab people with that. It's got really high concealment and it does the job of a melee weapon. But really, honestly, in terms of actual how it looks, I think Wing is the best looking melee weapon for stealth. But that is just my opinion. It's not because I like Sydney, it's because I actually like the weapon itself. But it's personal preference, and some people may not like the look of Wing. They may just like the look of just any old stealth weapon to use. And honestly, in terms of performance, it's not any different to anything else. Melee weapons are quite balanced in Payday 2 these days, especially on console now. Everything's pretty much balanced in terms of stats, so if it's performance you're looking for, this isn't exactly any better than anything else. It's more just cosmetics that I think you should consider here. This DLC pack also comes with a Sydney mask and a Sydney Begins mask, so if you want to run around on different heisters with Sydney's mask, or start afresh, use the Sydney Begins and try and come up with something unique, then you've also got the opportunity to do so. Sydney's mask is quite strange because of the huge nose on it. Not quite sure where that came from, but, you know, I just kind of go with it. It's quite a cool mask, honestly. I do think it kind of suits her character in a way, but because I have so many other masks that I use, I don't really use Sydney's mask much. I use the Begins one, which I have the death pattern on it, I'm pretty sure. I kind of like the way it looks on that, but even so, I don't use it overly much. I don't use it kind of excessively. I can't even get the words out. But in terms of a character's mask, it's not the worst one I've seen. It's quite good, and I quite like it, but I don't really think people tend to buy character packs for the masks. I don't know whether people ever do that, so if you do and you like it, then maybe that's a reason to go for it, but I wouldn't say it's the main attraction. And finally, what I thought I'd do is put in a few page lines from Stealth so you can get a bit of a better idea of her character and what she sounds like. I've just picked out a few from a random stealth heist, just so you got some better idea of how she behaves in-game, so let's roll those.
Don't you just love watching panicked people running for their lives? No? I'm just joking, mate. Listen up. So, tell me, Control, Jared Leto as the new Joker, yay or nay? I think you'll pull it off, I must say. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you. Oh, sorry.
So finally, would I recommend the Sydney Character Pack DLC? Yes. I really like Sydney's character. I think she's a really brilliant addition to the gang. Some heisters I kind of feel like the gang could do without, but you know, are cool either way on the fence. I don't really honestly agree with all of the characters. There's none that I hate or dislike in any way at all. But I feel like sometimes when DLC characters are added, they're kind of just okay. They're kind of there and it's cool and all. But, you know, they're not ones that I go for too much. Like I said about Bonnie, I'm not really too keen on her character, but you know, it's cool she's there. I don't dislike her. But Sydney, her personality stands out, and I think it's one of the reasons I play as her. And I'm kind of on that kind of same area with Jimmy. I like his personality as well. I suppose how they behave is just something that attracts me, and I really like the way Sydney acts. And on top of that, her melee weapon is really cool. I do honestly really like Wing. And the bootleg assault rifle, while it's not great on high difficulties, if you're planning on playing a chill heist on, say, Overkill or something, this weapon will do you fine. It will be absolutely fine for an Overkill heist, and maybe even Mayhem or Death Wish. It's just, you know, keep in mind that you will have to fire a bit more bullets to make the damage, because the damage it centers at about 50, so it's not wonderful, but it's pretty good. But other than that, that sums up the DLC review, so I hope this has been beneficial to you guys, and if you did enjoy it, please feel free to drop a like and comment down below what DLC pack you'd like to see reviewed next. I want to go over all of these if people want to see them all, and you know, some maybe people want to see less than others, and some maybe people want to see for a joke. Goat Simulator, I'm looking at you. But other than that, thank you guys very much for watching, hope you did enjoy. Leave a comment if you have any suggestions for future videos, or if you'd like to share your thoughts on this video. If you think that the DLC is worth buying, let people know down below why you think so. If not, I'd be very interested to hear your opinions. But other than that, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take it easy.